Now connect to desktop 0508C.
So, friends, let's begin. Have you done this exercise 3 that I shared with you in the group?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The statement, the first statement says the parents, Oscar and Suzanne, are American. Can you decide whether it is true or false if you have read the text?
False.
Yes, it's false. Uh, their dad is Peruvian and their mom is American.
Right. Dad is from Peru and mom is from America, an American hippie.
Yeah.
And they met in New York, where Oscar worked as a musician.
No, they met in Peru on a trail to the majestic Machu Picchu ruins.
Right. Do you understand the expression on the trail to somewhere?
Yeah.
Great, great. Alejandro, Rodrigo, do you understand the expression on the trail too?
No.
Okay. Trail means path. Trail means path. Okay. A way,
Okay.
a road. Okay. So on the trail to majestic Machu Picchu means both the people were going to Machu Picchu and they met there on the way.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Rodrigo. On the trail to majestic Machu Picchu. Majestic, do you understand? Majestic. It's an adjective to describe the splendor of something, the greatness of something. Majestic. It looks, impressive. Yeah. Brenda wants some time. She has always been this way. Always. She always needs extra attention. I remember when Edwin used to study with me, your dad, and she used to be around. And sometimes he would say, "Excuse me, teacher, let me take care of her."
Yeah.
Noelia, your little sister Brenda wants company to play with. The problem is she's so young. She
Yeah,
does.
but like the thing she wants to be on camera and she's so annoying.
She loves being on camera, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
great. Maybe you should make a special YouTube channel for her, and post her videos there. The channel is going to be popular very soon. She's
yes.
a hit on camera.
Oh my God.
Rodrigo, where is your brother? Is he coming?
Teacher, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Great.
I can hear you
Okay.
now. I can
Yeah,
hear you
I
now.
can. Problems. He will connect in a moment, I think.
Yeah, right. So they didn't meet in New York, right, Rodrigo? They didn't meet in New York. Oscar didn't work there as a musician. Okay, they met on the trail to Machu Picchu. They were both going to Machu Picchu. I love the sound of Machu Picchu. It's in Peru, isn't it? Or Mexico? Machu Picchu? I think it's Mexico.
It's in Peru.
It's in Peru. Oh, yes, Peru, Peru. Machu Picchu, Peru. Yeah. And the sound, Machu Picchu, sounds like a very, affectionate thing, something soft, something cuddly, Machu Picchu. It should be the name of a teddy bear, maybe, Machu Picchu. It's how do you feel about Machu Picchu? I think most Indians, when they hear this sound, Machu Picchu, they would think of something cuddly, something soft, something, something you can love, like a teddy bear type, Machu Picchu.
Yeah, but like the meaning of the name
Huh?
in another, like in our indigenous language.
Yes.
I think it's old mountain,
Okay,
and
interesting.
then when in a picture it's young mountain.
Okay, young mountain and old mountain,
Yes.
Machu Picchu. Have you been there, Rodrigo? Have you visited it yet?
I'm not teacher, but my mom, yes.
Feel curious to see why, in person.
Sorry?
Do you feel curious to go there and see it in person? I mean, I'm pretty sure you've read about it in your books.
Ah, okay. Yes, this place is very, it's amazing for
Yeah.
me. Uh, I don't,
So
I
do
don't
you?
have the opportunity to visit it.
But would you would love to, won't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. How far is it from where you're living in Lima?
I don't know the distance exactly,
Hmm.
but it's very far.
It's very far. Really, Alejandro, you guys have been there, haven't you?
Yes.
Hmm.
In plane
Yes, we did.
is 1 hour and a half.
Okay. Okay.
Um, in car, I think it's like 10, 10 hours probably.
Yeah. The preposition by would be better, by car, by plane sounds better. Okay. Because you are talking about the mode of transport. So when you talk about mode of transport, the preposition by is more preferable. By car, by train, by plane, it takes only 1 hour. Okay. Oscar didn't have a job. He just looked after his family. Is that true or false, Alejandro? Oscar didn't
Mm,
have a job. He just looked
yes,
after his
it's
family.
true.
It's true. Yeah. How do you see this person? I mean, we have a discussion topic, why do you think the father did this? But this really amazes me how somebody can decide I mean, they must be really frightened of the ways of the modern world. And somebody must have told that person, that this is not how life is supposed to be lived. And the names he gave to his children, they come from Hindu mythology: Narayana, Krishna, Bhagavana. These are all names from India. The boys learned only negative things about life from the films. Go ahead, anybody.
Mm, no, they learn about real life and the importance of the family.
Yeah. They didn't learn only negative things. They learned everything about life from films because they had zero interaction with the real world outside. So whatever they learned from the films. From a very young age, they worried about being different from other people. Rodrigo. From a very young age, they worried about being different from other people.
Um, I don't understand the question.
Yeah, all right, no problems. Noelia, do you understand the question, Noelia?
Yes.
What does it mean?
Um, like like the answer or the
Go
question?
ahead, go ahead. Whatever. Answer the
Okay.
question.
So no, they discovered that they were different when they were teens, teenager
Mm,
stage.
yeah,
Because
because
usually they
yeah,
are like kids, they don't know like
yes,
that is like bad or like it's
exactly.
different. Yeah.
Okay. So, Alejandro, from a very young age, they worried about being different from other people. If you worry about being sick, okay, if you worry about being sick, would you like to be sick or you wouldn't like to be sick? If somebody worries about something, they don't want to do it. Okay. So depends,
So
from a very young age, they worried about being different from other people. Probably it means,
it's
yeah, go on, Alejandro.
uh, do I go ahead with the answer?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, it's false because they just started being curious about the outside world, and because they watched the movies, and that make that actually created a perspective of what was the outside world.
Hmm. Okay. Your brother hasn't joined it, Rodrigo. It's taking him a lot of time. Hmm. Just a second. Hmm. You see, what happens, Rodrigo, that when you know, Rodrigo, did you ever have this feeling when you were growing up that you might not be like others? You might not be like others, might not be similar to other people.
Yes, yes.
And
Sometimes.
yeah, young people feel the pressure to be like others, and they don't like to be so unique. Actually, when they're young, they actually hate being unique. They just want to be like others. For example, if a child uses his left hand and there is nobody in his class or in his neighborhood who uses his left hand, then this child feels different and doesn't like it. And other children also make fun of it. Hey, you use your left hand, we all use our right hand. And they just feel so much pressure that they are not like others and they want to be like others. You will see a lot of children have this tendency to try and gel, try and mix, and for that they want to be like them. And that's the reason when a young child moves to another country, he finds it difficult for many reasons: the skin color, the looks. Imagine there is a class of all white people, and yes, young kids, they've never met a black child, okay? And then a black child comes to the class. Then all of them are going to make that child feel so conscious, and that child is eventually going to hate being black for some time, until he grows up and becomes confident. So it is natural human tendency that when you are young, you want to be similar to others. You want to be like others. Um, so these guys, were they worried about being different from other people from a very young age? Were they concerned about it, that they might not be like others? They might stand out and they wouldn't like it? Does it make sense, Rodrigo, or should I explain it in a different way?
No, teacher, I understand.
Mm. So the point here is these children, these brothers, didn't even realize that they were different now until they got in touch with other people. You see, because they were living in their tiny apartment without permission to go out. So unless you interact with other people, how do you realize you're different? So most probably they didn't realize they were different. and they were not concerned about it. They were not worried about it until they became teenagers, and they started skipping, somehow outside the apartment, and then they realized they were different because other people live different kind of life. As a child, sometimes you don't realize that you are doing something right, doing something wrong, or doing something different. Sometimes you don't realize it. So they didn't realize it until they stepped out of their home rather. Okay. Gonzalo, welcome, Gonzalo. What do you think, Gonzalo? The boys, from a very young age, worried about being different from other people. Is that true?
Sorry, teacher.
Number
What was the
five.
question?
Number five.
Okay. Um, in my opinion,
Mhm.
yes.
Hmm. Well, if you notice this line, it was only when we got to our teens that we started to realize we were living a very different life to other people. This line tells you that when they were children, they did not realize that they were living a very different life. Children normally, whatever treatment you get, you consider it normal, unless you see other people not getting that treatment. Imagine if your I'm just asking you to imagine a hypothetical situation. Imagine you are growing up, somebody is growing up with some really, unkind parents who beat their children every day. Okay. So that child will think that it's normal. Every parent does that. Unless he meets a child who tells him, my parents never hit me. He'll say, what? Your parents never hit you? Then it will dawn upon him. He will start to realize that his parents were unkind to him. Otherwise, he would think it's normal. Parents beat, because that's what he has been experiencing all his life. Unless you see something else to compare your lifestyle to, your experiences to, how would you know it was different? So these children did not realize that they were living a different life until they were teenagers. Do you agree with because of this statement here? It was only when we got to our teens. I'm going to explain every sentence. Hey, students, I have an idea. Uh, just one or more, two more sentences are left. Okay, let's finish. And then I'm going to read the text to you and explain it better. Okay. Mukunda escaped from the apartment in a frightening disguise. True or false?
True.
True.
Absolutely true. And that's why the shopkeeper phoned the police, because he was in a frightening disguise, right? Crystal Masale heard about the boys, so she wanted to make a film about them.
True.
That's not entirely true, is it?
It's not entirely true, but
It's not.
Hmm. Their lives are much more normal now.
yes,
Yes.
they have
Yes.
jobs. They go outside.
Yeah, let's read. And Rodrigo and Gonzalo, if you guys could be on camera, I would love to look at your expressions when I'm explaining the lines, so that I can understand that, yeah, you are kind of receiving all that I'm saying, okay? But in case you can't turn your camera on, then do let me know if you have problems, okay? If you understand me 100%. Or if you don't understand me 100%. Their story. The family is extraordinary. Ordinary, extraordinary, different, extraordinary, special. The family's extraordinary story began in the late 80s when Suzanne, and this is a surname which is difficult to pronounce, Reisenbichler, perhaps, okay? Suzanne Reisenbichler, a young American hippie, met Oscar Angulo. In English, you often notice this, okay? The story began, this family's extraordinary story began in the late 80s, 87, 88, 89, something like that. You can break down a decade into three parts: early, mid, and late. For example, early 20s, okay, 21, 22, 23, like that. Late 20s, maybe 24, 25, 26, like that. 20, mid 20s, and late 20s, 27, 28, 29, like that. Okay. So we can break down every 10 years, a decade, period of decade, into early, mid, and late section. Okay. So the text says in the late 80s, it means maybe not 81, not 82, because 81 and 82 cannot qualify as the late 80s. Maybe 87, maybe 88, maybe 89. Okay. The late 80s. Thank you, Rodrigo. Thank you for being on camera. I love it. I love looking at my students' reactions, expressions when I'm talking to them, especially.
Teacher,
Yes.
sorry, how do we know what number of years qualify as late or
Okay.
mid, or
Okay.
how do
Yeah.
we actually
Lovely
know that?
question. I can explain. Okay, you know that decades are usually a period. Decades are a period of 10 years, right? 80s means 80 to 89. That's called 80s. 90s means 90 to 99. 60s means from 60 to 69. Now, this is a period of 10 years. So let's think about it. First 3-4 years can be called early. Middle 3-4 years can be mid, and last 3-4 years can be late. So when I say I'm in my mid 40s, somebody asked me, how old are you? I said, I'm in my mid 40s. So they will not think of me as 41. They will not think of me as 49 for sure, because 41 doesn't qualify as mid 40s. 49 doesn't either. Mid means middle. So what is the middle of 40s? 43, 44, 45, 46, something like that, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit, it's not very clear. It's a little vague. You don't know exactly. Okay. But yeah, somewhere.
Yeah, because in history, when they actually mention a period of time,
Yes,
yeah, they actually, as they are not sure what period of time they're talking about, they just mentioned the late 19th century or
exactly.
the early 20th century. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's understand. As you say, a century is a period of 100 years. So maybe last 20, 25 years can be considered late. First 20, 25 years can be called early, and the rest can be called mid 19th century, mid 19th century, early 19th century, late 19th century. Hmm. A young American hippie met Oscar Angulo. Okay, a young American hippie. This is information about Suzanne, that Suzanne was a young American hippie. In English, we call it noun of apposition. I'll teach this in the grammar book, okay? Noun of apposition. Suzanne, a young American hippie. We often place it after a comma. Suzanne, comma, a young American hippie, met Oscar Angulo, comma, a Peruvian tour guide and musician. Okay, as you guys are from Peru and Oscar is from Peru as well, so tell me a little bit about his surname, Angulo. Is it a very common surname in Peru?
Uh, think not really, because when I actually think about that last name, I saw a lot of people from Ecuador have that, from the country Ecuador, have
Mhm.
that possess that last name, but it's not really common in Peru. I
Hmm.
think probably I'm not really right.
Peruvians are not Angulos, right? Okay.
In general, no.
In general, you don't see a lot of Angulos there. How about your surnames? Lopez, I think, is popular. And hurtado, do you find a lot of hurtados?
In general, in Latin America, yes.
Okay. But Noelia said no, I think. Noelia, did you say no or yes?
I think it's not very common.
Hmm, not very common. Your
No.
brother felt other way. He said, yeah, it's common.
Because I searched it up in Google and it says like it's not very common
Hmm.
in Latin America. So yeah.
Did you have any other hurtado in your class, in your school?
No, it's very weird because they say like how do I pronounce my last name? They say like they can't pronounce the R
Hmm.
very like deep. I don't know how to say it. And then it's like Urta. And they said Urta, something like that. I was like, yeah, fine, that's fine.
So you're talking about your Canadian classmates now.
Yeah, my teachers and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. But when you were back in Peru, did you have any hurtados in your class?
No, never.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's why.
Yes, I can understand why Canadians will find that R difficult because they don't really pronounce that R before after a uh, vowel and followed by a consonant. So that becomes silent. I mean HURT. Most people who speak English would read it as hurt. Hurt, and most probably the R will be silent. So that they might think how to do, how to do. Okay. But of course, it's a Peruvian name, so it should be pronounced differently. You know, I have a girl from Ukraine. Her name is spelled Diana. So I said Diana, okay, at first. But then I thought maybe because she's from Ukraine, she might have a different pronunciation. And I
Yeah.
inquired, I asked her if she pronounced her name the same way. She smiled and said she pronounces it as Diana, not Diana. Okay.
Yeah,
So
it's
I was
Diana.
very surprised. The same spelling, very different pronunciation.
Yeah.
Diana and Diana.
Yeah, we call Diana too. No, Diana.
Yeah, but in England, if you have that spelling,
Yeah.
people will say Diana. There was Princess Diana, very famous,
Mhm.
person
Yeah.
from there. So they met a Peruvian tour guide and musician. He was a musician, but they did not meet in New York. Okay. He didn't work as a musician in New York. He was a musician, but he didn't work as a musician in New York. He was a tour guide and musician, and they met on a trail. Okay, on a trail. A trail is like, okay, you guys have been there, Noelia and Alejandro, Machu Picchu. So you leave the town behind, and then you take a long path which leads you to Machu Picchu, which takes you to Machu Picchu. So that path that you are walking on, that is the trail. Okay. The word trail is used in so many ways, Rodrigo Gonzalo. It is used in the police are on the trail of the robbers. The police are on the trail of the robbers. It means they are trying to catch the robbers. Okay. They're trying to find information about where they could be. The police are trying to find information about where the robbers could be hiding or could be located now. So they are on the trail of the robbers. Okay. So it's figurative use of trail. It's like, think of the similar way. The robbers took a path, went somewhere. Now the police are on the trail. It means they're going after the robbers. Okay. And they want to reach where the robbers are. So on the trail of, and here we have literal meaning. They met on a trail to the majestic Machu Picchu ruins. Let me know if you do not understand or if you find a word unfamiliar here. Ruins, majestic Machu Picchu ruins. They met. So you can kind of imagine what the circumstances might have been where these two met. Maybe she was the guest and she was his client, and he was showing her around and they interacted. And sometimes when you are young, you start liking each other, fall in love. This is they fell in love. They fell in love and moved to the US. She might have offered him, "Why don't you come to the US? We could have a life together." And they moved to the US and finally to New York. It tells you, this word "finally to New York," that they did not directly go to New York from Peru, okay? They went to other parts of the US, and then finally they moved to New York, where they started a family. So they met in Peru, and what did they do next? They fell in love and decided to move to the US. But they did not go to New York straight away. They went to other parts. And then eventually, finally, they moved to New York. And there they started a family. This is a lovely phrase, start a family, to have children. Okay? They started a family. Okay, I am going to ask you a silly question just to give you more practice. Okay? So you guys are teenagers. I am asking you, what do you think? What's your opinion? How many years after getting married do you think a couple should think of starting a family? Straight away, the same year when they get married, or they should wait for some time? And what do you think? How long do you think they should wait before they start a family?
In my opinion, after they get married, 2, 3 years.
They should wait before they start a family.
Yeah.
Okay. Alejandro.
After they're married, uh, they should, for me, they should take at least 1 year to actually know each other. Uh, actually, actually, like see their future as, like if they actually see their future of a baby, of a child, and they should probably take the time to actually create that idea and see if they can deal with that at least 1 year, in my opinion.
Wow.
They should
Okay.
take, yes.
Okay. Rodrigo.
I think they should wait a little longer to start a family.
Rodrigo, you are a good language learner. You use the expression as well. Nice. Gonzalo.
Um, in my opinion, the ideal time to start a family after getting married, um, it depends the circumstances, goals, I don't know how to say that word. But however, many experts uh, suggest waiting 2 or 3 years after marriage before starting a family.
Is a good idea. Waiting for 2 or 3 years before you start a family is a good idea. A lot of studies have shown a lot of, because they have surveyed parents how they felt about starting the family. A lot of parents, might have said that we were a little too early, you know. It would have been better if we had waited. So yeah, maybe. Yeah, I totally understand that it is a very subjective matter, and we cannot set rules for anybody. Maybe there are two people who are madly in love with each other, and they just want to have something together. I mean, this gives people a great joy when they make a baby together, because the baby, is a combination of both of them, and it is an amazing feeling to know that you are responsible for your child, this way. So some people just can't wait. So I think if they have the conviction, it's up to them. They can start it straight away. As you guys said, circumstances play a role as well. And they should understand how they're going to deal with this. So yes, in some cases, waiting is a great idea. But yeah, it depends, it depends. By the way, you guys, when you say depends, you follow it up with the preposition on, okay? Depend on. Don't say depend off, okay? Which preposition do you often use? Depend on or depend off, Gonzalo? It depends on their circumstances or it depends of their circumstances?
Depends off.
Nah, maybe it sounds okay in Spanish, but in English, it should be, it depends on the circumstances, okay? Depends on the circumstances. Depends on, always depends on something. It depends on you. It depends on us, depends on something, okay? It depends on my mood, on, not of. Okay, start a family. This is a very interesting sentence. Oscar, terrified that his children would fall into a life of drugs and crime. Okay, do you think a few words are hidden between Oscar and terrified? Can you imagine? Can you think of those words which are hidden, but you can feel them? Oscar, terrified that his children would fall into a life of drugs and crime. I want your attention on these two words, Oscar, comma, terrified. Do you think some words are hidden between these two? Can you see those hidden words here?
Oscar was.
Uh, because there is a comma. So if we remove comma,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
we
yeah.
remove comma, then we can say Oscar was terrified that his children. Okay, no problem. But if we
Yeah.
maintain the comma, everybody, please
Oh,
listen.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's really interesting because what Noelia has said is right. If you remove this comma, then you can say Oscar was terrified that his children would fall into a life of drugs and crime. But the problem is,
Oh,
if
we
you
need
do
to
that,
keep.
if you do that, Noelia, then you will not be able to continue with lock the front door. Okay,
Mhm.
you will not be able to continue with this. If you say Oscar was terrified that his children would fall into a life of drugs and crime, you'll have to give a full stop after crime. Understand?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, if you use was here, Oscar was terrified that his children would fall into a life of drugs and crime, full stop. But if you want to maintain this comma after Oscar, then you can continue with this flow of the words here. So there are two ways. One, what you suggested, Noelia, simply put the word was, remove the comma after Oscar, put was, change this comma after crime into a full stop, start a new sentence. He locked the front door. Okay, this is how you can go. Another option, everybody, is we don't put only was, we maintain this comma, we keep this comma here, and we say Oscar, who was terrified, using a relative pronoun. Okay, everyone. Oscar, comma, who was terrified that his children would fall into a life of drugs and crime, comma, locked the front door. Who locked the front door, everybody? Who locked the front door?
Oscar.
Oscar. This is so interesting in English. Okay, so you have such a long phrase between these two parts. Oscar locked the front door. Okay, Oscar, terrified that his children would fall into a life of drugs and crime, locked the front door. So, yes, those people who do not understand English very well, you could help them by just saying, oh, think of he who was Oscar, who was terrified that his children would fall into a life of drugs and crime. And this is easy, would fall into a life of drugs and crime. Locked the front door and kept the key. And kept the key, guys. What a decision, extreme thing. It's an extreme step. A lot of parents are worried that their children might, get into bad company, develop some bad habits, but they don't go so far to keep their children locked in the house and keeping the key. That's something too extreme. I think in many countries, this father could be behind the bars for this kind of behavior. He is just taking the children's freedom away. Okay. Do you think if somebody did that in your country, people around them, if they found out, are going to be cool, or they're going to react, they're going to criticize this decision of the dad?
Yes, they're gonna protest in
Y-
on the streets and
Exactly.
everything.
They will, because of his own insecurities, because of his own ideas, he made the children suffer.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
family, but you know what? This topic keeps going deeper and deeper, and there are so many aspects to it that finally it comes down to this question. I mean, to what extent do the parents have the right on their children? What can they decide? In some countries, I would like to tell you, they are suggesting this idea that parents cannot project their religious beliefs on their children. Doesn't matter what you believe in, your children don't have to be exposed or indoctrinated into those beliefs until they become grown-ups. When they are grown-ups, they will choose what religion they want to follow. What do you guys have to say on that?
I think that's true. Even like if we live in the like in the same apartment as our parents, we don't have a choice. Like we need to follow the like our parents' path. Yeah, like they're thinking of the life and that kind of
Yeah, their
stuff. Like
worldview is a good
yeah,
word. Their
worldview.
worldview,
Yeah,
yes.
worldview. Yeah, but like after we are like we turn 18, we can decide and like we can move or whatever we want.
But in many, this is why I said this is a very interesting topic, because how can you not, how can you stop children from being influenced by their parents' belief system? Because they live together. Even if parents do not say anything, verbally, children will copy their parents. If your father worships with his hands folded, then you will imitate your dad and you will also do the same.
Yeah,
And
but
it, yes,
yeah.
no, yeah, go on.
But I think in that case also it's the school and the society that like the teenagers see, and then they compare to the parents' worldview, and then it's different, and they can change their mind, and
Uh,
they like rebels,
they can, they
rebelling.
can, they can, they can, they can actually. But in some families, somehow through conversations, the parents scare the children so much into
Uh,
believing what they believe, that it becomes part of their personality. And despite becoming an adult, they still have that fear of what their parents told them. I interact with a lot of people about their religious beliefs, and I try and poke them in, to reveal why they actually believe. In a lot of cases, I realize that they are scared. They feel if they do not continue with the religious beliefs, they might be punished. They are very scared of their gods. They're scared of being punished if they do not follow the path shown to them. They don't want that, the hell and the heaven idea. They don't want to end up in hell. And that makes me feel like, it's impossible to save children from this kind of mental torture, because they actually believe, even after growing up, that they will be put in hell if they do not follow the same path their parents have asked them to. Even though it doesn't make much sense logically, they still want to stick to it. Not everybody is brave. It's very strange. But yeah, we can definitely decide a limit, to what extent you can influence your children in these ways. especially. I don't think in India it is going to be a reality where you can stop parents from talking about their religion to their children. It's not going to be a reality for at least next 100 years. This will continue the way it is.
Oh,
Yep. Okay. It's more possible in those heterogeneous societies where you have people from different backgrounds, religious beliefs, and all. Nationalities. Then it becomes easier for children to open their mind.
yes.
But when you live in a homogeneous society where every second person is like you, it's very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Coming back. Oscar, terrified that his children would fall into a life of drugs and crime, locked the front door and kept the key. The family lived on welfare money. Okay, how would you pronounce this, Rodrigo? This word, Locked.
Low,
Locked.
locked.
Okay, Gonzalo,
Luck.
locked. Okay, very quickly, just a small thing. You know that the D that comes into the second and the third form of the verb can be pronounced as t, t, t. What I'm trying to tell you, there is a difference in the way you pronounce this D and the way you pronounce this D and the way you pronounce this D. The D at the end has a different pronunciation in these three words. The first one, how will you pronounce the first one?
Attacked.
Good. Everybody, Rodrigo, Gonzalo, Alejandro. The first one.
Attacked.
Attacked.
Yes. Here, you have to pronounce, you have to make this sound. Okay. Attacked. The last D will be pronounced with this sound. Here, it will be pronounced with this sound. And moved, and here it will be pronounced with this sound, defended. Okay, so if you're comfortable, if you're familiar, no problems with the concept. If you don't know why it is so, then I can help you. If your words end with k sound, okay, ch sound, p sound, and f sound, and s sound, and sh sound, and there is one more. Then, okay, this is enough. This should be enough. After these sounds, if you have ed, okay, then this D is gonna be pronounced as t. Let's have a word, attack, which ends with k, or like, or, work. So the past tense will be pronounced worked, liked, attacked. Okay. With ch sound, for example, search. Then if you add ed, you will pronounce it searched. Okay. If you have a verb with ending with p sound, for example, pop. Okay. And then you add ed and you pronounce popped. Okay. Then f sound, laugh. Laugh. There is no f in the spelling though. Laugh. The sound is f. So you add ed and you say laughed. Similarly, brushed, rushed. Okay. So with these sounds, When you have ed at the end, then that d is pronounced as t. So if you didn't know, you can just take note, and we can move on. Okay. He locked the door, the front door, and kept the key. The family lived on welfare money. Okay, nice phrase. Lived on. The family lived on welfare money. If you live on something, so that is what you have to manage life, an employee complains, sorry, boss, I'm resigning because I can't live on the salary you pay. So I'm resigning. I can't carry on anymore. I can't live on the money you pay. It means I need a bigger salary. I can't live on. Okay. Now there are some children, they live on fast food. It means all they eat is fast food, fast food, fast food. Of course, they become obese, they become overweight, right? Because they live on something. So live on. Some young teenagers are very romantic, and especially some girls, they want to marry a guy who's not financially stable, who's not doing anything. And when the girl's family, they protest, they say, don't do it. They say, oh, but he loves me, I love him. Then the girl's family say, you can't live on love. You can't live on love, you need more. Okay. So live on something. The family lived on welfare money. They lived on welfare money. You understand welfare money, right? There is a concept: when you are not earning, the state will pay you a little bit so that you do not start doing something wrong, like, robbery and stealing and stuff. Okay. So welfare money. The family lived on welfare money, and only Oscar went out. Only Oscar went out. Usually for food, or to collect new films, or for his children. Usually for food or to collect new films for his children. That's what he did. The boys say they learned everything about, okay, they learned a lot about life from these films. We learned about the importance of family from films such as The Godfather, says Govinda. Okay, we don't realize how many things we learn just by interacting with people. When you go to school when you are 4 years old, and you meet some other children, and the way they talk about their family, and then you compare your feelings for your family, and then you realize slowly, in an indirect way, that your family is important to you. But here, these guys were always at home, so they learned about the importance of family from films such as The Godfather. The films taught us that people are complex and flawed. Flawed means they have weaknesses. They are not perfect. The opposite word for flawed is perfect. Flawed is an adjective, by the way, here, right? Because we are describing people. People are complex and flawed. Do you agree that people are complex and flawed, or you believe in the idea of good people and bad people? Go on.
Flaw means like imperfect.
Imperfect. They have problems. They have weaknesses. They have shortcomings.
Wait, I don't know. I think it's, yeah, complex and flawed.
Complex, not okay. In the past, I will be. I'll tell you. In the past, people believed that there were two types of people: good and evil. There were good
Yeah.
people, and they did not acknowledge the complexity of human character, human nature. They thought some people were good and some people were evil, black and white. They did not acknowledge the gray. But today, most of us realize that even the darkest of the people have some good qualities about them. Even the worst of the criminals have some good qualities about them. And even the best of the people have some weaknesses in them. So people are flawed, people are complex. And this is a realization when you make, you don't believe in this binary, good and evil, good and evil. Because, anything that goes off the, common path, the path that is normally accepted, that person is considered evil. I don't know about how you feel about these things, but there was a time where a lot of people were considered evil just because they were not like the majority. You know that in the past, people with the left hand were considered evil. People who had a prominent left hand, those who used their left hand for writing and for doing most of their work, those people were considered evil guys. They were
Yeah.
considered bad because they did not use the right hand. So what was that? Not accepting any diversion, like just saying this is the path, you have to fit in this frame, and if you don't, you're bad. Now tell me, do we decide which hand we are going to use? It's just decided by our genes, but before we are born. It's decided whether we are going to be born right-handed or left-handed. We don't make a choice. And still some people were judged just because they did not use the right hand like the majority. So they were evil. So I personally do not like this binary to decide people are good and bad. I think everybody is good and bad at the same time. In different circumstances, we are good. In different circumstances, we are bad. Yes, some people can have more bad in them. Some people can have less bad in them, but that quality is there. Jealousy, right? Jealousy is a negative quality, but we all have jealousy. Some people are more jealous and they do stupid things out of this feeling. Some people control their jealousy maybe, but they do feel jealous. They'll have to acknowledge. Okay, so people are complex and flawed, imperfect, says Narayana, but there is so much beauty in the world. Okay. So they did not learn just the negative things, you see. They learned family values. They learned to appreciate the beauty in the world from the films they watched. It was only when we got to our teens that we started to realize we were living a very different life to other people. It was only when we got to our teens. Okay. This structure suggests that it happened late when they were in their teens. In their teens, teens here refers to teenage. Okay, it was only when we got to our teens. Another phrasal verb, get to. Get to means reach, arrive. Okay, call me when you get to New York. So somebody's going, and I said, okay, call me when you get to New York. When you reach there, okay. Let us know when you get to school, okay, like that. So get to somewhere, and the same get to can be used in a figurative sense. Get to your teenage, get to your goals, okay. Get to a conclusion. So it was only when we got to our teens that we started to realize we were living a very different life. I want your attention on this word, that here, okay? This is the connecting word. It was only when we got to our teens that we started to realize we were living a very different life. So the conjunction here is that. This is the word that is connecting these two parts, okay? It was only when I was at high school that I started to feel that school education was not necessary to be successful in life. Okay. I'll give another simple example. Okay. It was when I was 10 years old that I found out that I was not the biological child of my parents. It was only when I was 10 years old, it was when I was 10 years old that I realized, okay, it was only when we got to our teens that we started to realize that we were living a very different life to other people. Here, too, different life to other people. Some people will use the preposition from, different life from other people, okay? Different life to other people. Mukunda says, we began to get more curious. We began to get more curious. Look at this use of get here. Get more curious, become more curious. If you replace this word get, you can replace it with become. We began to become more curious. One morning, I simply woke up and decided to go out while my dad was getting groceries. Okay, Groceries refers to the food items that you use in the kitchen. The things you use in the kitchen, they are called groceries. Okay, it could include oil, it could include potato, it could include everything that you use in the kitchen for cooking and stuff. Okay, groceries. I simply woke up and decided to go out while my dad was getting groceries. Okay, he slipped out of home. Another phrasal verb, slipped out of home. Okay, means without telling his parents, without letting them know. Wearing a scary, frightening, scary, wearing a scary homemade mask, modeled on the one worn by the killer in the horror film Halloween. Okay, this mask, okay, again, some words are hidden here. Everybody, wearing a scary homemade mask, comma, modeled. Do you know which words are hidden here between mask and modeled?
Which
Which was perfect, Noelia. Okay, which was or that was wearing a scary homemade mask, which was modeled on the one. This one is a pronoun. Okay, this one is a pronoun, and if I remove this one, I can write modeled on the mask. Okay, if I remove one, which word will I bring in to the sentence instead of one? Mask. Okay, because it is replacing the word mask. It's a pronoun. Modeled on the one worn by the killer in the horror film Halloween. So this is what he wore and left the house. The 15-year-old escaped onto the city streets. Take a look at that. The 15-year-old, how it's written with, hyphens, and 15-year-old. The 15-year-old. This works as a noun here. The 15-year-old escaped onto the city streets. Shocked by his appearance. Now, lovely expression here. Shocked by his appearance, a shopkeeper called the police. So, a shopkeeper called the police. But why did he call the police? Because he was shocked by his appearance. It means his appearance was frightening. Otherwise, nobody would, bother to call the police. They must have thought, oh, he's going to do something bad. So, shocked by his appearance, a shopkeeper called the police, but Mukunda refused to answer their questions. He refused to answer. He said, I'm not going to answer. Refused to answer. He said, I'm not going to answer. He refused. Sometimes what happens, people confuse the word refuse and deny. Okay, so here what happened? The police said, hey, you need to answer some questions. Where are you from? Where do you live? Who are you? He said, I'm not going to answer. I'm not going to answer. He refused to answer their questions. Why are you wearing this mask? He said, I'm not going to answer. Okay, so he refused to answer. So when you refuse to do something, you say, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Notice, it is usually about the future. I'm not going to do it. I won't tell you the answers you're looking for. Refuse, okay? The teacher said, sit down. The student did not sit down. He refused to sit down. He said, no, I'm going to keep standing. All right. So refuse to do something. Somebody invited you to their birthday party. You said, I will not come. So you refuse to, go to the party. So when you refuse to do something, you say, no, you will not do it. Okay. When you deny something, you say, I did not do it. When you deny, you say, I did not do it. For example, a bottle is broken in your room. Your mom comes and asks, who broke the bottle? You say, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. So you denied breaking the bottle. You denied breaking the bottle. You said, I didn't do it. Your mom said, you did it. No, I didn't do it. So you denied breaking the bottle. So there is a little bit of difference between deny and refuse. Okay, you refuse to do something, you deny doing something. You deny doing something, you refuse to do something. That's the pattern, verb pattern. Okay, you deny doing something. He denied bullying his classmates. The principal called the boy and said, you bullied your classmates. He said, no, sir, I didn't do it. I didn't bully anybody. He denied bullying his classmates. Okay, So these two words can be a bit confusing. Okay, anyways, it's time to say goodbye, and we are going to continue with this text, and I'll keep adding information like this while we read along. Okay, so let's meet tomorrow, people. Okay, I hope you enjoyed my reading the text and adding information to you while reading, so that you can grow in terms of your understanding of English. That's what I do, and I love doing this particular part where I read the text and explain what the sentences mean, and I break down the structure of the sentence and stuff. It just helps my students feel more confident about the way they see English. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and we will continue tomorrow. Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you,
teacher.
teacher.
Good night,
You too.
everybody. See ya. Bye bye. See ya.
Bye.
Good night.